left my husband at a rest stop and drove off with my daughter. It was the best decision I ever made. When my daughter Cora was a senior, we planned a mother-daughter road trip to visit her top 5 colleges. 2 days before we left, my husband Greg announced he was coming because he didn't trust me to ask the right questions, since I'd never gone to college myself. The first school was a small liberal arts college with a beautiful campus and an incredible English program. Greg spent the whole tour interrupting the guide to ask about job placement rates and starting salaries and whether the degree would actually be worth anything. Afterward in the car, Cora started talking about how much she loved the creative writing program, and Greg cut her off. He said, "English? Really? So you want to be a barista for the rest of your life?" Cora tried to explain that she wanted to be a writer, that her teacher said she had real talent. Greg laughed and said, "Writing isn't a career. It's a hobby for bored housewives. You need something practical." I told him to stop, and he said, "Someone has to be realistic here. You're filling her head with fantasies because you never did anything with your own life." The second school was Cora's dream, the one she'd been talking about since sophomore year with one of the best writing programs in the country. Greg spent the entire tour on his phone, sighing loudly whenever the guide mentioned anything about the arts. When Cora asked what he thought afterward, he didn't even look up. He said, "It's a diploma mill. Nobody's ever heard of this place, and no serious employer would care." Cora's eyes filled with tears, and I said it was ranked in the top 50 nationally for liberal arts. Greg said, "Rankings are fake. Trust me, I actually understand how the world works. You two just see pretty buildings and get emotional." The third school was the State University, very affordable and practical. Greg perked up when he saw the tuition, and at the end of the tour, he told the admissions counselor, "This is the only school she's actually applying to. The other ones were just for fun." I pulled him aside and told him he didn't get to make that decision. He said, "I'm paying for it, so yes I do." I reminded him we had a joint college fund we'd both contributed to for 17 years. He said, "I earned that money. You just stayed home and played house. My money, my rules." In the car, Cora was silent in the back seat, folding into herself the way she did when she was trying not to cry. Greg started listing every reason her dream school was wrong. Too far, too expensive, too artsy, full of liberal professors who would brainwash her. He said she should major in nursing or accounting, something useful for a woman to fall back on when she got married and had kids. Cora said quietly, "I don't want to be a nurse." Greg said, "Nobody cares what you want. Women don't get to just follow their dreams. That's what husbands are for." I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. Greg kept going. He said, "And honestly, let's be realistic about your grades. You're not smart enough for these schools. You're setting yourself up for rejection and heartbreak." Cora started crying silently, tears streaming down her face while she stared out the window. Greg looked at her in the rear view and said, "Oh, here come the waterworks. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You're too emotional for the real world. No employer wants to deal with a woman who cries every time someone tells her the truth." I saw a rest stop ahead and put on my turn signal. Greg said, "I don't need to use the bathroom." I pulled into a parking spot and said, "Get out." Greg laughed like I'd told a joke. He said, "Excuse me?" I said, "Get out of my car right now." He said, "You can't strand me in the middle of Pennsylvania." I said, "I've listened to you tear her down for 300 miles. You called her dreams stupid, her grades embarrassing, her passion worthless. You told her women don't get to have dreams. Get out." He said, "You're not serious. I'm your husband." I said, "Cora, do you want him to stay?" She looked up with red eyes and said, "No." Greg's face went purple. He started sputtering about how this was insane, how he would call the police and report the car stolen. I said, "There's a bus station 2 miles east. Figure it out. You're a man. That's what men are for, right?" He got out and slammed the door so hard the car shook. I drove away and watched him shrink in the rearview mirror. Neither of us spoke for 10 minutes. Then Cora said, "Mom?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Thank you." We drove to her dream school and did the tour again, just the two of us. She asked every question she wanted, and I watched her light up in a way I hadn't seen in years. The divorce was finalized 6 months later, and Cora got into her dream school with a scholarship. We took another road trip together to celebrate our new lives.